So Lady Gaga and Dylan Mulvaney have issues now with the whole Women's Month thing. Essentially, Lady Gaga promotes Dylan Mulvaney to be this top-notch woman or something, and people are saying they disagree. And so Lady Gaga says that's hate, that's violence, and etc., etc. The truth is this. You know, she can say whatever she wants to say, and he, Dylan, the dude, can say whatever he wants to say, and they have the freedom of speech to say what they want to say. Now, we, on the other hand, also have the freedom of speech to say what we want to say. So, they can say that Dylan Mulvaney is a woman, and we can say that Dylan Mulvaney is a man, and we all have the freedom of speech to say whatever we want. We're all entitled to our own opinions and our own thoughts. But here's the thing. Love does not mean you gotta agree, and just because someone disagrees doesn't mean that's hatred. It's very possible for me to love you and to disagree at the same time. Here's the problem now. When people say, and we're not going to talk about morality here, okay? That's a different topic. It's connected, but it's different. I'm not even going to touch that here in this video. But when people say, this is about their identity and their choice, etc., etc., fine. You can live however you want. But don't expect other people to agree with how you live or agree with your quote-unquote reality. Because if you can choose your reality, then we can choose ours as well. And so you are not allowed to impose your quote-unquote reality on us and vice versa, right? So that being said, when people say, I'm going to transition and, this is going to be great for me, in the history of mankind, this phenomenon has never ever happened where it's all widespread and everybody can transition from man to woman, woman to man, and get all the surgeries and etc. Right? But because of that, nobody was able to really say much of anything, and because of the whole political correctness issue, then people were afraid to say anything. But now, a lot of people already say things like this. My whole transition from male to female or vice versa, this has not cured my depression. This has not cured my suicidal tendencies, my suicidal thoughts. This has not cured my lack of fulfillment, and I still feel depressed. I still feel lost. I still feel this and that. And so now we have scientific and numerical and clinical and psychological proof or evidence that this whole transition thing is not the cure for quote-unquote, I don't even want to say quote-unquote because I'm not even sure what that's going to imply now these days. But all I'm saying is that this whole transition thing is not the cure for gender dysphoria. It's not. So we now have the proof to say so. And this is science, okay? This is science. It's biology. And secondly, people are saying, it's our right. Yeah, sure, it's your right. You can do what you want again. But this time there's a difference. And the difference is because we now have evidence that this is not going to help, we can now actually say that disagreeing with the choice to transition is the loving thing because there's evidence that this is not going to help. Let me explain. There's what you call a trajectory of our decisions. For example, if somebody says I'm completely healthy and I choose to drink beer, that's perfect. People will say, well, that's perfectly fine because he's healthy. But the moment the person says he's got kidney, liver, alcohol problems in the body, and we say, don't drink beer, suddenly that's loving. Why? Because the person already has a problem with alcohol, with his physical health. What I'm trying to say is this. Why is it that it only becomes loving to disagree with alcohol intake when the person already has alcohol problems, but as long as the person doesn't have alcohol problems yet, then it's unloving to actually disagree? That just doesn't make sense because we know there's a trajectory. So a person who's completely healthy says, I want to take up smoking, and we'll say, fine, it's a lifestyle. But the moment he's got lung cancer and we say stop smoking, it's suddenly loving, right? So now we can say, we know that alcohol leads to problems. We know that smoking leads to problems. And so the trajectory of the decision is bad. And so when we say, don't start drinking, don't start smoking, it's actually loving because the trajectory itself is bad. So with this whole transition thing, now there's evidence, clinical, physical, scientific, biological evidence that transitioning has a trajectory that's also not helpful, that can be bad, that can lead to so many different problems. So now we're allowed to say that your decision to transition has a bad trajectory, and it's now loving for us to say we disagree with that, because even if you think it's a lifestyle choice, it's got a bad trajectory. All right? Last point I want to make. They do not allow children to drink alcohol at a certain age, even if it does not have permanent consequences. So a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old is not allowed to drink alcohol because they're underage, even if it doesn't have life-changing effects. So why are we allowing children at the age of 15 years old to go through transition, take surgery or have surgery done on themselves, take puberty blockers that have permanent consequences and permanent effects, when we don't allow the same teenagers to drink or to smoke, etc. Right? Now, let me take it a step further. What if a 14-year-old girl says, I identify as a mother, therefore I should be allowed to have sex, it should not be considered rape because I identify as a mother? They should be allowed if you want to be consistent. If a 14-year-old boy says I identify as a girl, and that 14-year-old boy is allowed to have surgery to have his penis removed, then a 14-year-old girl should be allowed to have sex, get pregnant, if she identifies as a mother. Why? It's the same principle. You're changing what's actual and what's real, and you're allowed to take physical, biological, financial decisions, or make those decisions to alter your life forever. So if you want to be consistent, guys, then you should allow, if you say men can be women and women can be men and they can transition and go through all those surgeries just to make it happen, then a 14-year-old girl should also be allowed to have sex and get pregnant. I'm not promoting it. I'm not saying, it's okay. I'm not a pedophile and I disagree with it. But if you're going to insist on the transition thing, you might as well be consistent and go for the whole 14-year-old getting pregnant, right? But that's what pedophiles want. And so, again, this has been the agenda all along. I've said it over and over again. The agenda has always been for sexual predators and child molesters and pedophiles to get what they want. And this is where it's headed. So, yeah, if you don't believe me, Google and research for yourself, and you'll see all these criminal charges being brought on, the sexual abuse, sexual offenders, child predators, and etc. They're the ones leading the charge for this agenda. God bless you guys.